Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons, and today's problem is Marfan syndrome affects the connective tissue and cause individuals to have long, thin arms, legs, fingers and toes. What is the inheritance pattern shown? Provide at least one piece of evidence for your claim. Consider the children labeled 1 to 3. Would you expect any of these individuals to have children of their own with Marfan syndrome? Explain. Before I will show you a solution, I just want to show you this picture. And we see here Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States. Some scientists think that he had this syndrome too because of his stature, long limbs. But from my point of view, he didn't have this syndrome, or at least it was mild form, because it can be caused by different mutations. Some can be severe, some can be mild. Now I want to show you a solution. Take a look at this pedigree. We see that this genetic disorder doesn't skip any generation. And in those parents who are affected, we see that 50% of the children are also affected. Why this is not autosomal recessive? Take a look at this couple. If this is going to be autosomal recessive genetic disorder, then genotype of these parents would be small a, small a. And of course, when we cross two people with such genotype, all their children are also going to be homozygous. But we see that, for example, this child is not homozygous recessive, and this female is also not homozygous recessive, so we can exclude this variant that this is homozygous recessive genetic disorder. Now let's think, could this be X-linked recessive genetic disorder, and this part of this pedigree would tell us that this is not possible. Take a look. For example, in order for this female to be affected, she has to have two defective X chromosomes. The male here, we see that his phenotype is normal. That means that he, in this case, should have normal X chromosome and normal Y chromosome. In this scenario, this female cannot be affected because she can get one defective X chromosome from her mother side, any of these two, but another normal X chromosome she's going to get from the father side. So she's going to be heterozygous, and if it is X-linked recessive genetic disorder, she just cannot be affected. She only can be heterozygous, and this female heterozygous, and her phenotype only of all the girls in such a family should be normal. Now we know that this is also not X-linked recessive genetic disorder. Now let's assume that this is autosomal dominant genetic disorder. Then genotype of this male is going to be capital A, small a, and this female capital A, small a. And genotype, for example, of this male is going to be capital A and blank space. Another allele can be any with recessive or dominant, inherited from any of these parents, but we know for sure that one allele that this male got from one of these parents have to be dominant. And as for this person, this male got two recessive alleles from each parent, so his genotype have to be small a, and this female got at least one dominant allele from one of the parent. Another one can be any. This female here got two recessive alleles from both of the parents, and as for this female, we know that she also got one dominant allele from one of the parents. Another can be any. And for example, if we'll take a look at this family, we see that this female is affected, and we assume that mother who marries into the family, who is unrelated to this couple, would have normal genotype, which is small a, small a. And this female here got dominant allele from her father, and now we know that second allele have to be recessive, that she got from the mother. And this male here got two recessive alleles from both of the parents. And as for this family here, we see that mother at least has one dominant allele, and of course father, who genetically unrelated and not descendant of this couple, so genotype of this male have to be small a genotype. And of course, in this case, this male would get dominant allele from his mother's side, and he have to be heterozygous. So another allele have to be small a. And as for this male, he got two recessive alleles from both of the parents. And this also means that genotype of this female, we now know she is heterozygous. She have to be heterozygous. And genotype of next female have to be heterozygous. From mother side she got dominant allele, from father side recessive allele. And we also know phenotype and genotype of this person, who should have two recessive alleles. And the last variant would be X-linked dominant. Can we exclude this variant or not? Take a look. For example, in order for this male to be affected, if it is X-linked dominant genetic disorder, his genotype have to be defective X chromosome and normal Y chromosome. Because males are hemizygous, so he is going to be affected. And for this female to be affected, she can have one defective X chromosome and one normal X chromosome. And now let's take a look at the children. And this female here exclude this variant of this genetic disorder being X-linked dominant genetic disorder, because even if we assume that she got from the mother side this normal X chromosome, from the father side this female only can get defective X chromosome. And if it is going to be X-linked dominant genetic disorder, her phenotype would be affected. So we can exclude this variant that this is X-linked dominant genetic disorder. So the only explanation what we see in this pedigree can be explained that this is autosomal dominant genetic disorder. Now again, let's return to this question. Consider the children labeled 1 to 3. Would you expect any of these individuals to have children of their own with Marfan syndrome? Explain. So now let's think about the genotype of this male here. He have to be homozygous recessive in order to be phenotypically normal, and his wife also have to be homozygous recessive in order to be phenotypically normal, if we already have found that this genetic disorder is autosomal dominant genetic disorder. And of course, two parents who is going to be homozygous recessive also would have all the children who are going to be homozygous recessive for this trait. And as you see, all these three children also would have phenotypically and genotypically normal children. Unless, of course, if they would marry someone with this genetic disorder, which we have found is autosomal dominant. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. And see you in the next video. Goodbye.